Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. It's four-wheel drive segment today. Subject is discipline. I'm your host, Coach Tripp. Thanks for watching the show, brought to you by Pensacola Glass. My good buddies on four-wheel drive, the Syracuse defensive lineman in the early 80s, Bill Pendock to my left. Billy boy, what's up?
What's up, Paulie?
And Blaze Winter missed us last week. He was out at Sturgis. His son plays in a band. We'll talk to him a little bit about that. Blaze Winter, 12-year NFL vet and motivational speaker. And guys, thanks for being on the show today. What a great hump day on Wednesday.
Good to see you, Paulie.
You too, Billy. Blaze, how was Sturgis?
Awesome, outstanding. It was life-changing for my son, Cordell Winter. I'm just so proud of the things he's accomplished as a singer-songwriter and in a business that's rather, poisonous. It really is. I mean, the music business is a wreck. And to see him, doing what he has to do to survive it and, have a great conversation with Aaron Lewis, who's a world-class musician, singer-songwriter, and Quiet Riot, who's been on the road for years and still sounds great. And be around those guys and see truly what a professional is. You talk about discipline, what a professional. Some of these people are just about, hey, man, we know how to deliver entertainment to the fans. And that's
Blazer, is this because this could be his big break? Did they have a lot of songwriters and I guess people in the music business? Were they? Did he catch people's eye? Was that could be his big break?
Well, he just had a call from Billy Bob Thornton, his producer, Russell Hobbs. They want to have him part of a documentary with Billy Bob. And if that really is the truth, that might be a defining moment for his life-changing financially and, reaching a broader audience with what he's doing. So, yeah, there's good things that come out of this, and this is what he needs, is to be around, people that have influence, people that have been there, done that, and that believe in him as a young artist. To see him being disciplined in what he's doing and staying true to himself it's really been, as a father, uplifting to watch. But it's also very challenging because there's a lot of evil in music. There's a lot of evil in that environment. There's a lot of troubled human beings that are in the water, a lot more than athletically, because they call their own shots. As athletes, we go through testing, we go through a lot of constant evaluation, but as a musician, you call your own shots, and management sometimes turns the eye away from obvious issues. And for Cordell to be around good people, I mean, Quiet Riot, I mean, there are a lot of good people. You would think, oh man, they've gone through a lot in a negative way. No, they've survived because they've learned to be professional. Aaron Lewis is as true to himself as anybody. Not everybody likes him because he speaks very strongly about America, just like Kid Rock. But Aaron Lewis is a guy who's learned to be, through the years, a classy professional off the stage. And to embrace my son with hours of conversation was, I think, rather noteworthy than just pushing him aside and just, get out of my way, kid. And you know who you're talking to. He wasn't that way. Kid Rock was somewhat that way. But, it's really funny to see how people embrace other people, either as a way to nurture them or a way to feel threatened by them. And there's
Well, you got your rats everywhere, man. You got there's sharks in the water, and there's also champions, and that's what you're talking about. You hope he can be a champion for your son, and mentor him and show him where to go, where not to go. But that's
like Mark. The last thing I'll say about it is, it's kind of like Mark Slaughter. Mark Slaughter has taken Cordell under his wing. He's been loyal to him since he was 14 years old. He's been mentoring him from a distance. That hey, don't do this. Do that, and it's really nice to watch true professionals lend a helping hand to rookies, to people that are on the rise. And he's been rather fortunate to have some, Loretta Lynn. He's had some remarkable people touch his life in a way that created momentum psychologically, and that's very important.
One more thing, Paulie, to Blaze, you talk about, especially the country music audience there, the country music people, they're always giving a hand to people coming up. It's not like any other business. You think about, we talk about playing pro football and football, that you don't really have that in that business, not like you have it in the music business.
No, you don't have a lot of coaches. You don't have a lot of general managers. You don't have teammates, a lot of teammates to lift you up and show you discipline, and show you how to do it. You got to have self-discipline. We're going to talk about that. Let's talk about discipline. What is it? How does it work? Why do you need it? The dictionary defines discipline as training people to obey rules or a code of behavior, using punishment to correct disobedience, training that strengthens, correction, punishment, also to maintain order. Think about, Billy, you were a cop. Think about what our society would be without civil order. Criminals would run rampant. Discipline includes training that strengthens. There's no substitute for hard training, also sometimes known as tough love. Correction. If you're undisciplined, this leads to trouble. As you know, Billy, the bad trouble can land you in a correctional facility. You have to explain to the players what they did wrong, lay out the consequences of their actions. And you got to have discipline, not only in sports, but as we've seen in music and every other aspect of life. When you have self-discipline, others, like coaches, teachers, bosses, leaders, don't have to discipline you. Many receive advice, but only the wise profit from it. There are leaders on every team, as you guys know. And those leaders have self-discipline. They must be harder on themselves before they can lead others. Maturity, it doesn't come with age. It comes with acceptance of responsibility. Leaders lead by example, and they're mature enough to accept criticism and learn from it. It reminds me of what the great Vince Lombardi said. He said, quote, "A great sin of immaturity is to become angry or hurt at the slightest criticism from others," unquote. A mature person profits from criticism. Coaches have a saying, he's a coachable kid. It's easier on coaches if the team has a bunch of disciplined leaders. All right, let me give you another quote from Vince Lombardi, and then we'll talk about it. Vince Lombardi, of course, is who the Super Bowl trophy is named after. He said, "Discipline is part of the will," unquote. We've all heard of the phrase, the will to win, but it gives it new meaning. Quote, "A disciplined person is the one who follows the will of the one who gives the order." You teach discipline in sports in every aspect, the execution part, the technique part, the mental and physical exercises. All of these activities require discipline. So the majority of the time, the team with the most disciplined player wins, period. All right. Blazer, what do you think about discipline and, and what?
My first thought was my sensei that I've spent countless years with, and how he conveyed that completeness was very important to outcome. It wasn't just a body movement. It was a body movement accompanied with the right thought and the right reason. And I always thought that was really beautiful. A body movement accompanied by the right thought and the right reason. Right. And, putting those things together, demanding of yourself that you have a complete circle, a complete thought before you react, before you advance, before you threaten, before you take on somebody else. See, that's the beauty of a sensei with the right mindset. Their discipline is conveyed through every word and every movement because there's a reason beyond the obvious for why they do what they do. It's not just what hurt people, it's only to defend your position. And that was always conveyed by the great coaches I was around also. You know, the George O'Learys, the Bobby Rosses. I mean, these are masters at, hey, man, there's a reason why I'm asking you to do this. Mm-hmm. And stop questioning it and start to respect the reason so that you understand that there's been a lot of preparation put into this. It's not just, hey, do this because I said so. It's conveying a position of authority that you can't help but respect when you're being coached by a great coach.
Right.
And I'm forever blessed.
Yeah, Billy, you have to respect the will of the one who gives the order, he said. That is discipline if you can do that. Billy, you were a cop for many years. You're a retired police officer. Talk about the discipline in your life and the lack of discipline when you had to arrest hundreds of guys.
You know, Paulie, discipline, and to Blaze's point, and everything. For me, I think a lot of it goes back to your upbringing in the beginning. Okay, let's, it's very, very hard to get a kid, we're talking coaching discipline on a coaching level, and getting a kid at 18, 19 years old or 15 years old and trying to mold him in the discipline that you want him to be, the way you want him to be. And it's very difficult unless you get a kid that comes from a family and a background that's got that discipline. And I'm not talking about a lot of physical discipline. I'm talking about the little things that are gonna shape a kid as far as, and I talk a lot about mental discipline as well as physical discipline as far as training somebody mentally to be tough, to be disciplined. Now, and a lot of it is the little things, and you think about, and you talk a lot about showing up on time, things like that, not asking what, why, or where. And I think, and you remember, as we were brought up in high school on to college, I think the reason Coach O'Leary really liked the players he had a lot of guys that didn't say why, what, or where. It was, you were told something and you did that. And that's, that's kind of, and I think, moving ahead real quick, I don't want to get, caught up on a lot of things, but you think about in football, and I think Blaze will agree with this, the weight room was the place that taught a lot of us that discipline of all them things. That's where kind of the game is won and lost. That's where kind of the discipline of, as far as mental toughness, physical toughness, all that stuff come together when you're trying to do those 2.5-2-hour workouts, hour-and-a-half workouts.
Oh, the discipline that O'Leary started with us as sophomores in high school. Let me give you an example, folks out there. We came in before school started in high school at 6:00 in the morning. And if we didn't have the same shirt, shorts, socks on, then he would just hit the roof and you weren't allowed to work out and you had punishment and running to do. Everybody had to look the same and everybody could not be late. Coach Bryant was the same way, man. I talked about that last week. What I learned about is being prompt. I got a saying, to be early is to be on time is to be late, and to be late is to be forgotten. Don't let me forget you. So,
Paulie, everything that Coach, I'm going back to when we were sophomores, and everything was connected with a punishment. Now, you got to understand, if if you did things right, that was the way you were supposed to do things. You were not awarded for doing something the right way.
Right.
But if you screwed up in any way, you did things wrong, that came with a punishment. Now, we fast forward to our senior year when we played for the state title. We played Henniger. And I remember sitting with Coach O'Leary. I was 17 years old. And the three of us were there. I don't know if you remember this, me, you, and Barry Hill. And he told us right here, right up front, that Henniger, on paper, physically, is a better team. But we're a more disciplined team. And that will arise and win the ball game for us, because if you remember, Henniger was a city school. He said if we gave them a little bit of confrontation, a little bit of doubt, they'll start to fold because they're not disciplined enough to maintain that way that we got to get through this thing.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't know if you remember that.
I also believe that the mindset of the current day student athlete, because of the amount of information out there, there's a position of resistance on day one. As an athlete back 20, 30, 40 years ago, we weren't going into a room with our hands raised, ready to fight the person that we are supposed to respect. I mean, I think this country does an absolute shit job of respecting its elderly. I think they do a horrible job
I agree 100%.
honoring people that have knowledge and wisdom and know through discipline what they've done and not done. And this has become very difficult because Billy's coached, I have coached, and the first thing you have to do is tell everybody, will you please put your fists down, put your phones down, and understand I'm the one that's going to give you a way. If you follow my way, you're going to have a chance to reap the reward. And if you are immediately confronted with, yeah, man, this guy just thinks he knows it all. No, the problem is you don't understand that somebody's paid their dues already, like my sensei. I mean, he was older. We bow to him when we come in the room. Why? He deserved that. When we come in, we sit down and shut up when George O'Leary came in. Why? He deserved that.
Right.
It wasn't a rule that was, oh, damn it, this rule sucks. It was, hey, man, he deserves that. And we were raised to respect that. Like Billy said, raised.
The word you just said, respect, is no longer involved in much anything anymore. Respect, all that stuff, things like that. These kids, and I don't even want to get into the police aspect of all this, because this is the coaching show. We're talking. And if I start talking about the way the general public is now towards police, or the way that is now, I thank God that I don't work the road anymore. I mean, I couldn't do it the way these guys do it now.
Yeah, respect is right. That's one thing I learned my first meeting in Alabama. We're all sitting in, Coach Bryant comes around the corner and everybody's lounged back, like that. And here comes Coach Bryant around the corner, and everybody goes, every person in the room, 100 guys, including coaches. And I'm sitting there like this, watching everybody. And I went, whoa, I better sit up, because Coach Bryant demanded respect, and he got it because he earned it. All right, let's continue on with discipline, how it manifests in a game. This is how it happens. It's about effort, right? Discipline is a great effort, guys. We've all heard the phrase of, taking a play off, and we've heard of guys flying all over the field, giving 100%, a kid with a high motor. Let me give you an example. There are approximately 160 plays in a football game, and you hear fans say, oh, that was a big play. Really, there's only about 6 to 8 big plays in every game that turn the tide, pun intended. The only problem is that you don't know when those big plays are going to happen. Therefore, a disciplined team, all 11 guys, 22 guys, go all out 160 plays. Hence, if you have somebody dogging it, this creates the big play. you'd be surprised at how many long TD passes and TD runs are happen because of a lack of effort away from the ball. And that's why great coaches instill discipline. Some coaches, like John Wooden, Vince Lombardi, Don Shula, Dean Smith, Coach Brian, all those. I was fortunate enough to receive discipline for Coach Brian and Coach O'Leary. Kids always need discipline. They should get it, Billy, at home first, right? From age 2 to 18, before they're adults. Their parents set the stage for discipline. But it's a good time to get it. It's a great time for life lessons from a coach with these kids. They learn. This is what kids learn in discipline. They learn how to work in group settings. They learn how to collaborate with their teammates or employees. They're communicating. They're working through problems. They learn how to encourage others and succeed and pick each other up metaphorically and literally. That's exactly what happens when these kids graduate and 98% of them go on to work for a company one day. That's what they learn.
That's what they need to take with them, Paulie. That's the most important part of coaching. You would talk about discipline. You talk about these kids becoming young men and grown-ups, and everybody having to go work a job or have a family. And that discipline that they learned at 9, 10, 11, 15 years old is something that's going to be with them for the rest of their life. Now, one big thing I remember about back to coaching is we talk about sudden change. I know Blaze is going to remember this.
Yeah.
George would talk about sudden change all the time.
Yes.
And part of that mental discipline was it didn't matter if it was pouring rain. It didn't matter if it was 20 below. It didn't matter if it was 100 degrees. We didn't feel the weather. I mean, I remember me, it was just, nowadays you look at these kids, they come to your gym, they got a gallon of water with them. They got, it's too hot, it's too cold. We didn't, the weather, the surroundings never came to an effect of anything. I remember that. I mean, it was about being mentally
tough with the weather. That's what I explained when we went up to Boston College with all those Alabama teammates, and the weather was really bothering them. It wasn't bothering me that much. I got mad at them, but I had that mental strength to overpower the weather. I went out and rode 8 miles yesterday on my bike in 100-degree weather. The weather the heat didn't bother me. The wind, I was mad at the wind a little bit for uphill into the wind, but the heat didn't bother me.
Blaze, you remember we didn't have water breaks whenever we wanted them. There was no water on the field. There was none of that. I mean, I didn't know. Nope. And that's the way I live my life, even to this day.
It was all part of creating a body and mind that would produce positive results for a team
under tough conditions.
It was never about the individual. It was discipline was the understanding that your actions affect your buddy near you. The four-wheel drive were great because whatever difference we had, and we had our differences in the locker room and in the street. We all went our own way, and we all had our own way of life. But on that day that we stepped on that field, we put those things aside and we became aware of, hey, if I don't do my job, the other person is affected, and eventually it affects a team, and it meant something to us. We were caught up in the emotional fabric of this means so much to the outcome. And that's a thought, that's a state of mind that is very important for interpretation of what discipline is really all about. And if Billy, hold the fort, you have the AA. Blaze, I'll handle the B on my side. Jamie, Tim, you understand your fits. Understand if we don't play together, Steel Curtain, Purple People Leaders, hey man, you won't get the results that you want, and ultimately the team will not succeed. And that has to mean something to the individual for them to what? embrace the challenge by the senior leadership. Otherwise, it's just put to the side, and you have complete chaos because one man shows on a football team. I don't care if you're Aaron Donald. One man shows don't win. If you ever watch the Rams, you watch that nose guard. He takes people, and he occupies two to free Aaron Donald on a one-on-one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's constant sacrifice.
Yeah.
And the sacrifice is driven by a position that you have in your mind that says, hey, this is my responsibility to be disciplined on this play. This is my area.
Right.
If I do my job, hey, good things will happen for the whole unit and the whole team.
Yeah. That's why coaches want individuals that are self-disciplined, right? We talked about it. Okay. I share a lot of quotes with the kids when I coach. Here's a little more from Coach Lombardi. Quote, truly, he says, I have never known a really successful man who, deep in his heart, did not understand the grind and discipline it takes to win. He goes on to say, quote, I sometimes wonder whether those of us who love football fully appreciate its great lesson that dedication, discipline, and teamwork are necessary to success. You don't do things right once in a while. No. You do them right all the time, unquote. And then Vince Lombardi, who loved maxims, he loved cliches. He said they're a cliche for a reason because they're true. He quotes General George Patton because he loved generals. He said George Patton said there's only one kind of discipline, perfect discipline. Wow, one form that I got from Coach Brian, and I talked about it, I use it every day, is promptness. To this day, I'm almost never late for an appointment. Doesn't matter if it's for a haircut, a doctor's appointment, any football, my show, it doesn't matter. It says, I talked to former teammates of mine, Blaze and Billy, and that we share the same dreams, or should I say the same nightmare. That's right. If you were ever late to Coach Brian's meetings, and this is what happened. I thought I was like one of the only ones of Bears boys to have these recurring nightmares in my head. But until I shared it with other players like Robin Carey, who to this day sets his watch 10 minutes ahead so he's never late anywhere. Dr. Galen McCullough, who was on Coach Brian's first two national championship teams in the 60s, still with us. God bless him. He's an author, a famous plastic surgeon. He played for Coach Brian 60 years ago, but he still has a dream that appears every fall that he's late for a team meeting in Alabama. Man, those stories and nightmares, those are something else.
Paul.
Let me say one more thing. Billy, and then I'll let you guys talk. I got to get in my Bible verse of the week, brother. Godly Man, brought to you by the Seiler Agency. This week's verse comes from Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. Quote, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it, unquote.
Amen.
Wow.
You gave examples of all these former players, and I'm, me and Blaze still have things we remember and things that stick with us, and that's all of that is forms of discipline that you were brought up with that stayed with you for your regular life, the life that means more than that sporting life ever meant at all. It really. I mean, we had a great time back when we played. I mean, I wouldn't give it up for anything. But as you go on and have families, as everybody goes on, kids, grandkids, that part of is what you want to instill in your kids and grandkids. That stuff that you learned back when we were in high school, back when we were in college. We were very, very fortunate to have the coaches that we have. And I'm going to tell you right now, I will tell you, number one, I say it in all the places I speak at, all the people I talk to, I was very, very lucky to have Coach O'Leary and Coach Jensen in my life. Two guys that you will never have again. You will never find these guys maybe 1 in 100,000. You know,
Let me go off of that with the thought that's been in my mind for the last minute or two. When you're around a great leader who instills the want to be disciplined, the want to do it right, what you see is a leader, a coach that never compromises that position because he truly believes in it, even though it would be easy to say, all right, you could do this on that play, and compromise for the whole other parts of all the other pieces of the puzzle. I mean, O'Leary never gave us a way out. He never put himself in a position that we would see, oh man, you're a cheater. You're a cheater, man. You're cheating the things that you're trying to tell us because you're like Joey over here or you're like Billy over there.
Yeah.
He couldn't care less if it was Jamie or Timmy. It was going to be done the right way.
Right.
And when you see the per day coaches and all you have to do is watch on the field and you see them compromise for the sake of, well, he's a great player. I want to make sure I keep him happy.
Right.
He's destroying the rest of the team's ability to follow any leadership.
Right.
Because we're all doubting his motives.
Good point. Go ahead, Billy. Good point, Blaze.
I'll tell you, you know, these guys, and I've had a lot of coaches. Blaze has had too. We all had a lot of coaches in our past. And where are all the great coaches going to come from going forward? Where is the great disciplinarians going to come from? Because society is not telling our youth to be disciplined anymore. Look at the NIL system. And I don't want to get into all this, but you're telling a kid it's okay to play at Syracuse this year. Let's say, screw it. Next year, I'm going to go to Florida State because they're giving me $1.2 million. The next year, I'm going to come back to Syracuse. What are you telling these kids?
Right.
You're telling them it's okay. There's no handshake, and I'll see you in 4 years. I don't know when Blaze signed. When I signed, I shook a coach's hand, and I devoted 4 years to that coach, even though it was a 1-year renewable. I gave him my word that I was going to be there. There is no integrity anymore. So how can there be discipline of these kids anymore?
And you know what you hear? You know what you hear, Billy and Trip? You know what you hear? You hear, well, you know, from a coach. Oh, well, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And you hear this motherfucking tap out. Like you're in a ring and they're about to snap your arm, and you're like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm going to tap out. I'm tapping out. I mean, we are as weak as ever in our ability to train our youth to survive the right way because we, as leaders, have decided, you know what, I'm tapping out.
But,
hey, compromising.
I got a daughter and son-in-law, both in the Marine Corps. And I talk to them all the time. They're lifetime Marines. I talk to them every day about there is no discipline taught or that comes into that Marine Corps anymore. Wow. If we ever have a hand-to-hand combat anymore with the kids we have or the young adults we have, God forbid what's going to happen to our country. God forbid.
Man.
And Billy, you know what we're considering, the three of us? Oh, they're just old farts. They're living in a bubble.
And we are.
We live in results. I mean, the bubble we lived in, and you know, to be a true life Rocky story, I needed Billy. Billy needed me. Jamie needed me. We all needed one another. And now there's this identity crisis of I don't really need anybody but myself. And that is a fucking lie. It's a lie. And that lie is going to burn a lot of people to get them bitter later on. 48, everybody else to blame when they are the role of a great coach is to point out, hey man, you need to do it this way for the well-being of the team and your own future. Your own future.
Yeah, you know, you guys make two great points, and I want to touch on both of them. Discipline of the kids when they come up. High school, I was so undisciplined, man. I just was. I was wild. I ran away from home my freshman year of high school. I was all over the place. Without O'Leary reeling me in and showing me discipline. So when I got to Alabama, Coach Bryant demanded it from day one. I was ready. I would have never been ready to play at Alabama if it wasn't for George O'Leary. Not even close. I would have just quit, flunked out. I even had better grades my freshman year in college than I did in high school. Okay, it was all because of Leary, because he didn't compromise. He did. Great coaches don't compromise. That's why I'm not coaching anymore. I coached for the spring and was going to get into coaching, but I did not want to compromise what I knew was right. Okay, and so I had to step away because just for certain reasons. But I was not willing to compromise my what I know to be correct and right in my coaching protocol and my philosophy, and I was not willing to compromise it. And I'm sorry. And that's just, I hate it for the kids and everybody else.
Remember, we've crossed a little bit of a line of going from a game of football to a entertainment business for Hollywood. And that has really caused damage because that's not real. And, football is a very lifelike lesson. The game itself is a very life lesson that if you do it right and you understand how it all works, there's a lot of good things that'll lead you into your future. But where are you left with Hollywood at the end of a 2-hour movie when there's been a solution to every problem by some superhero? You're left with a sense of, hey, man, I can't wait to see another episode because, hey, man, I'm a hero. Yeah. And you haven't done shit to be a hero yet.
I don't even watch any of those. It's a long process
to get to a point where you are a black belt. And I know from the pain and misery I went through holding positions that I understand that, hey, man, it was meant to make me into a person that could protect myself and the family behind me. And that was important. And it still is important.
Billy, you got a final thought?
No, Paulie. I think this subject we hit on today is very important, and I think we ought to do a follow-up at some point in the future. But for all young coaches out there and guys that are getting into different fields, I think it's very, very hard in this society to try to mold these young people with any kind of discipline at all. And you touched on quitting coaching. I myself got out of coaching the football, the weights. I just can't. I can't find myself babysitting kids anymore. Rather than coaching.
No, they don't show up to practice. You can't do anything. I mean, it's crazy, man. You can't even discipline.
You really can't fight it anymore. This is the way society is going and you can only do what you can for your own family, and hopefully those young kids grow up with a little bit of discipline, a little bit of integrity.
Right. All right, guys. Thanks for being on 4-Wheel Drive. Salute to Jamie and Tim for the 4-Wheel Drive, guys. Let's try to get them on. I'm reaching out. I'm going to start a segment called "Good and Faithful Servant" coming up in September with Kerry Good as ALS. Yeah, stay tuned for that. That's going to be Monday nights. Good and Faithful Servant. He wrote a book. That's the name of his book. Goode is their name.
Good luck.
What a guy! And we're going to tackle subjects in Kerry's book on how to manage through life, especially under adversity, because ALS is a horrible disease.
All the best to him, Paulie.
Yeah, well, I'll keep you guys updated. Peace, man. Have a great sports week, guys.
Lazy. Take care, brother.
I love you, brother. See you later.
4-Wheel Drive. See you guys. All right, man. Those guys are awesome. It's always fun to have those guys. Stay tuned for these messages. Without these great sponsors, this just wouldn't be possible. Talk to you soon, everybody. So long.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
75 years of service in high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Drive a little to save a lot on 170 Buicks and GMCs at Step 1 Buick GMC. Get savings up to $4,000 on new Buick Encores, $9,450 on new Buick Envisions, $7,000 on new GMC Yukon XLs, or up to $15,345 off on new Sierras. Only at Step 1 Buick GMC, Pensacola. Plus tax, tag, title, license, dealer processing fee expires 7/31/24 on select new 24 in-stock models. Discount off MSRP includes all incentives.
Arbitrium Consulting for all your fencing, landscaping, pressure washing, tree trimming needs. Call 850-483-0350 for your free estimates. Serving Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, Destin, Perdido, Gulf Shores, Foley, and the entire Gulf Coast. Arbitrium Consulting is owner-operated, fully licensed and insured. Call today, 850-483-0350, the official landscaper of Coach's Corner.